Hi everyone. So I thought I'd make a few more videos. Hopefully the audio in this one is a little bit better, but I thought I'd just share a few more ideas. So yeah, basically with the sleep thing, what they have got me into is suggesting that if I don't go to bed before a certain time, I am not going to be allowed to sleep enough for that day. And because of the emotional trauma, I feel that I need 8 hours sleep a night, not 7 hours sleep, if not 9 hours sleep, to make up for the lack of sleep that I've had for the last 3 years. I definitely feel that while I have become a lot more efficient, I feel that I'm losing part of myself. I don't feel that I'm the same person. What they did yesterday is I went to bed early. I went to bed at about 10:30 because they had docked me an hour earlier that day. But they woke me up at 3:30, 3:15 in the morning. They woke me up abruptly. They started touching my body and making me wake up. Now, I am becoming aware that they are also able to affect my appetite. Oh, they've just switched the fridge on. They're able to affect my appetite because when I wake up in the morning, what they do is they keep me awake for a certain amount of time, and at that point my hunger pains start kicking in. But I've noticed that it's not fully normal because I can take an appetite stimulant because I'm losing so much weight and I won't be hungry at all when they wreak havoc with my sleep during the night. So I'm saying it because this is just another indication of the level of technology that they have and what the technology can do. I think it gets a lot more serious than that though. In terms of the artificial intelligence, I'll give you a very interesting story that happened to me the other day. So basically, I had been wanting to get these cushions for ages. I had seen them in a supermarket, they were very cheap. Anyway, I held off from getting them until the other day I decided that I would go and get them. A glass bottle had broken in my house, so I thought, well, I'll go and get a few bits of houseware. So I went up the road. They didn't have cushion covers. So I came back down the road. I then went into a second shop. Well, probably about the fourth shop after that. Got these cushion covers. Came back, put the cushion covers on my cushions, and then turned on YouTube to find that there was a segment on Good Morning with Philip Schofield and Jeremy Corbyn. And Jeremy Corbyn was sitting on a sofa with a cushion cover that was basically identical to the one I just bought that day. And the segment had been recorded the day before. So I am not saying that weird coincidences don't happen. Actually, I'm going to start saying the weird coincidences that do happen. And I know that they are genuine coincidences because, basically, I am opening a book at complete random. I'm twisting that book upside down, round and round, multiple times, flicking through the pages before absolutely randomly deciding to open at a page in a book. And relevant information is coming up on those pages, relevant and unique to the particular circumstances, which I will be explaining more about. I'm telling you the facts. What I think is happening is that when people go into have some kind of trauma, their extra sensory perception becomes heightened. And I think that this is part of the reason why they are engaged in this satanic trauma, because they have witnessed these kinds of results, these kinds of inexplicable supernatural results, and it's some kind of experiment into this. But a lot of it is fake as well. A lot of these things have been engineered somehow. It's really important to be able to have a high level understanding of Zersetzung and understand what can be faked and what can't be faked, and to have a really clear understanding about what can be faked, because I'm wondering if they had capitalised on the fact that I had wanted to buy these cushions. They had given me a good sleep that day, so I had lots of time in the day to go out to get the cushions. That they got lucky and there weren't any cushion covers in that shop at the time. And as I was walking down the road to find these cushion covers in the second shop, they made me not go into one shop that I could have gone into to get cushion covers. I skipped that shop and went to another shop to get them. And lo and behold, these identical cushion covers were there. If this was a setup, then they must have got somebody to plant those cushion covers in the other shop, and I would have some kind of strange reaction. I would find it strange, I would find it destabilising, I'd become scared, I would lose touch with reality. Sorry, as we speak, I'm just experiencing this really painful hunger pain, which is making me not be able to sleep, not be able to think. I've got to satisfy this hunger pain immediately, which is what's been happening to me as I've been lying in bed trying to go back to sleep. What I've had to do to overcome that is to have smoothies ready in my fridge at night. Fruit smoothies that are filling enough to help me kick that hunger pain quickly, because I've lost my appetite. It's not a natural hunger pain, so I find it difficult to eat. I can't just eat food. It's got to be in a smoothie. It's got to be easy to swallow. You know, so I know that this is not a normal hunger pain. Yeah, so that's just a technique that I have developed in terms of dealing quickly with that little barrier. Right, so another thing that I'll just mention to switch the subject. I'm sorry, this is not as fully structured as some of my videos have been. But another thing that I mention is that we should pay attention to how they are fooling the public. And I think that I'm just going to mention that I think they did a massive job with Jeremy Corbyn and the Jews. I think one of the interesting things that we can see from the Jeremy Corbyn story is the way in which the public is literally in the hands of the narrative masters. They had Jeremy basically up as Hitler and some kind of really evil man. We know Jeremy has been a freedom fighter for decades. I mean, yeah, there are some people that you could easily paint as negative. You know, Gaddafi, unfortunately, he did kill a lot of innocent people, so he was easy to paint. But Jeremy Corbyn hasn't been out killing people. He's been out trying to save people, but yet they turned him into an object of ridicule. They battered him, they cornered him, they got the masses out against him. They reignited the old anti-Semitism mantra, which had been virtually nearly dead. The evil glare had been turned onto other groups, but yet they dredged up this anti-Semitic corpse, and now Jeremy is practically Hitler. And it was just a very good testament to how easily people can be mobilised against good people. And Jeremy really got battered down. But you can see quite clearly that what ended up happening is a mob was formed, and that mob was used to stop a political party from gaining power and from ever seeing the light of day. Yeah, so basically what it seems to me is that they are egotistical when it comes to boasting about their artificial intelligence technology, that they take some kind of weird pleasure from taking over the human being. It seems as though they are fomenting some kind of huge takeover plot because they are systematically terrifying the public. You know, shooting teenagers, you know, children never know when they are going to be murdered in school. That's not a good, safe, liberating feeling. That makes people feel small and powerless. And what they're doing is they are systematically traumatising the entire child population by doing all these school shootings. And they are ensuring a population of very docile, traumatised workers. That's exactly what they did in China. I was watching a program about how Mao came to power, and what he did was he started to educate the children when he came to power, and 20 years later he had an entire multitude of people who just did exactly what he said, you see. So that's exactly what's happening, and I think that if we adults turn a blind eye to that, we'll be making a very big mistake. And you can see the sort of seeds of that attempted takeover of power. So yeah, it's not just the black children, black teens who can be shot by the police officially, legally. It's any children in school, not even teenagers, but children, infants, can be shot at any time. And these children will grow up to be a lot more damaged if we don't stop these psychopaths from shooting them and shooting at them. Okay? And that's really serious. Another thing that I would say to be conscious of is the amount of micro stresses they put on your body every day, because I've noticed that what they do is they're so sophisticated in identifying situations of stress for me, even quite minor ones. So for example, I'll be trying to access something on the internet, they'll start slowing down my browser, then I will be trying to do something else in the meantime, I won't be able to, something's not working or something that's giving me a bit more stress. Then I might be having a conversation with somebody on the email, they'll put technology on that person, so they'll become a little bit irritating. So I've got 3 stresses on the go, and then I'll find that they're touching my body. I realise that they've been touching my body, you know, very gently, you know, but just giving me a little bit of an irritation, you know, and those things combined used to make me go to have cigarettes, which I stopped now, you know, but I realised that there was no low that these people would not go to make me stressed, even if that meant violating my body and hurting my mother. Basically, all those things are acceptable and were happening. So, as I say, I've stopped cigarettes and I haven't gone back, and what's keeping me going at the moment is the very important rule of not even having one again, you know, because I think when you say, oh, I'll just have one and then I'll stop again, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Okay, so just to remember that, you know, your mind is being consciously twisted at the moment. They are trying to twist your mind, twist your thinking, and turn you into a different kind of person. You may even be having to build up some kind of persona. What they do with me is they just literally disturb my sleep, and that's how they force me to be brought down, you know. So at the moment I'm not having any of my days properly. I don't have my days, I don't have my energy. I'm unhappy 24 hours a day. My health is suffering. I have had to completely turn it around, stop smoking and start eating healthily. So I'm doing that, and I am just doing everything I can to get myself back together. Setting up a website to try to get an independent income again and stop being on the poverty line. You know, making sure that I am managing how I'm being perceived, not others are managing it. I think TIs really have to tackle those kind of skills in terms of overcoming their mental health label. And as I say, I'm pointing to the wider evidence. This is what I was saying to another TI the other day, that in order to get over this problem, we need to use the law, we need to go to the police, but we cannot go to the police without our stories being properly publicised, because the police are able to just say that this individual is mentally ill and assign them directly to the mental health services. That cannot happen, however, when they are in the public spotlight and a sizable amount of evidence from everybody, covering everybody's story, is presented to them. To say that the individual stating it is mentally ill would be ridiculous. They have no hope in hell of pulling up that defence. The police have legal duties to, protect the public. That is what the police are there for, okay? It is their role to take up this crime and deal with it. The only reason they are not dealing with it is because they are able to get away with it at the moment, because every single TI has been running up against them and been smashing themselves against them and not being able to penetrate, okay? So because they've all fallen at this mental health hurdle. We've all made the same mistake of thinking that we can trust people when we can't trust them, that people have understood us when they haven't understood us. We've thought that people were taking it on seriously when they haven't been taking it on seriously, when they've been preferring to wash their hands of it, wash their hands of us and wash their hands of the problem and play dumb and save themselves, you know. And when we haven't fully understood how the Zersetzung program has impacted their opinions of us. Okay, so in order to overcome the mental health label, we have to be really careful and clever about how we present our information now, and we have to overthink our presentation. The best way of presenting, I believe, given my law background, is to make sure that all the evidence, a comprehensive file of evidence, is put together, okay? And this is what I'm trying to do. I will be doing, if nobody else does it at some point, I will be doing it, so don't worry about that. And regardless of whatever happens, I will still be doing what I need to do in terms of the law. I'm going to get all the evidence together, and then you've got to present a case, and you present a case step by step by step. And if you go to the police in the first instance, you know, and you only get the police to act if there's publicity and they're being shown out to be having to act, you see. And then they will get right to it and we'll have none of this problem. But I just haven't had more than one pair of hands, you know. So I've been trying to get income, I've been trying to sleep, I've been trying to take care of my health, I've been trying to get over my emotional stress. You know, I've had to really slow down in order to take back control over myself and not keep on smoking, you know. But, you know, I've not been able to have my life. I've had to just become, you know, in emergency mode, almost imposing martial law, but one that's very highly controlled, one that's very efficient. I've become very efficient with my organisation, my long-term planning about all the goals that I want to achieve, my personal and also stalking goals. So, yeah, just remember that you are a normal, happy person. You don't deserve any of this. This is super sick. You're not at fault. You haven't done anything wrong. We've all been very unlucky. We've all been brought into a particular story. But I do believe the story is worth it because these people have been holding back the entire planet, and by dealing with this problem, the problem is actually going to be dealt with. This is not the problem we wanted it to be, but it is the problem. Nobody's dealing with the problem. The problem hasn't been dealt with for years and years and years. When the problem gets dealt with, all the people stop suffering. I mean, millions of people stop suffering. It's worth it. But this whole Zersetzung problem of these maniacs pretending that we're maniacs and that we have lost control of our minds and that we are crazy when it's all them, this awful charade has to be, you know, stopped. I call these people the Zersetzung colonial burglars. They like to break in. They are colonialists. They stamp down on other human beings in an extreme way. They have developed professional ways of doing that. This is a wide-scale program. How much wider do they intend on rolling it out? How is this all tying in with this national, international fear campaign? They've been doing, since the Twin Towers, they've been doing terror attack after terror attack. They've been doing schools all over the US. They have moved into natural disasters. It's one disaster after the other. Massively disgusting atrocities, brutal destruction of life. It's not natural. Things wouldn't be this way, you know. And just as the Jews got caught into this anti-Corbyn mantra, England is getting caught into the anti-Muslim mantra. It's the Muslims. The Muslims are not the problem. Jeremy Corbyn is not the real problem, okay? But in the meantime, all these divisions are being caused, just like divisions are being caused between TIs. And when there are divisions, we don't work together. And what's happening is that TIs have stopped working together in terms of facing this common Zersetzung enemy who's applying the exact same program on us and ruining our lives in the exact same way. And, you know, a lot of people in England are not working with the Muslims. They're blaming the Muslims for being the paedophiles. Let me tell you something. The satanic murderers are ordering international child trafficking, okay? That's a serious paedophile problem, okay? By drawing on people's xenophobic assumptions that it's only the other foreigners who are bad, by selectively giving them facts, creating false impressions, creating divisions. And that's exactly how we were all isolated and assigned to mental institutions by people who should have been supporting us, So let's not fall for this. They are thieves. I tell you something, in the Bible it said that Jesus was healing people who had always been blind from birth. And what we've got to realise is that this is an intergenerational phenomenon where colonialists have been brought up in terrible colonial households where they have witnessed crime after crime against humanity. They have developed warped, schizophrenic views of the world. They've become wildly dangerous, violent people. Those people have had children and have brought up generations of even more angry and damaging people, okay? And we are dealing with an old problem, one that's gone back for generations, okay? This is absolutely possible that some group of people are now planning some kind of intensive, extensive takeover of the world. That is why they've been running these terror campaigns. That is why they have been immobilizing the children and planning this long term. Okay, TIs have to get into a recovery mode. A very nasty person has been hurting us and hasn't cared about us, and that can lead us to stop caring about ourselves and just look at homeless people. That when you've had person after person not caring about you, not treating you as valuable, and you end up not seeing yourself as valuable, and you start taking drugs, you don't care about what happens to you, you don't care about the food that you eat, and for a very long time, even though I realised that this was a Zersetzung, it was getting to me, but I have had to go through the layers of Zersetzung, and I tell you something, looking at what happened to Saddam Hussein, looking at what happened to Gaddafi was a good understanding, and looking at what happened to Jeremy Corbyn was a good understanding of what is happening to everybody and what they're planning to do, and the difference between the rhetoric between George Bush in 2003 and now the utterly false rhetoric against terrorists of their own creation. So we are dealing with a philosophical movement that has gone pear-shaped and is now burning children. We have to recover as TIs. We have to get into a mode where we can cope with this and keep battling on, keep in control of our emotions, keep aware of the Zersetzung impacts and the technology impacts. We have to become clearer communicators, explaining ourselves, explaining our case, explaining the facts more clearly, more compellingly. We have to stop being disbelieved. We have to be able to understand how information has to be brought to a consciousness in order for them to understand it, okay? What needs to be going down, the silent fears that they are plying our audience with, and that's shutting them down. But again, some people can play stupid, the members of the public can play stupid, but the authorities cannot play stupid. We can't have a police who is its very profession to find criminals and recognises that criminals do everything to hide their crimes. Yet the police couldn't imagine that there could be psychopathic criminals who are conducting crimes and abusing us. That is just not a valid argument that the police can raise. So we've got our path starting from the police, but going up through the courts, the court system, and finally to the international court system, and ultimately to the United Nations, the international system, okay? We've got international religious systems as well, and networks, okay? It took many years, but the international community was finally able to take hold of Saddam, a brutal tyrant who took over. We are currently in the Valley of Siddim, the first paragraph in the Bible that mentions the name of Muammar Gaddafi. This is not just one Saddam Hussein. We are in the Valley of Siddim. We have a number of dangerous people and generations of dangerous people who have lost the plot. And while we would be very happy to let them get on with their lives, we want to get on with our lives as well. As the Panama Papers revealed, we are dealing with organised criminals, footballers and government. We are not dealing with child burners in every instance. We are dealing with people who want to, business people who want to maximise their money, okay? But in that fray, in that 0% tax, zero contribution mentality, they are insulating child burners. We've got a problem. We've got a couple of people who need to stop having this platform for the most severe atrocities against humankind. The avalanche in Sierra Leone was at the Sugarloaf Mountains. They had been using sugar. Sugar had been a trigger word that I'd been using as part of my Zersetzung narrative, a very significant narrative for me. That is not the only trigger word that has come up in terms of so-called environmental disasters that have been being billed as environmental disasters, but have been basically mirroring, triggering symbolism that has been going on for me. So I know that a lot of these things haven't been natural disasters, bringing me into a lot of, showing me that they are damaged, okay? And what does a rational person, they haven't had the benefit of many rational people guiding them, okay? A lot of people who would have guided them have bent because of fear, because of money, okay? But what has to happen is that they have to, it's like stopping cigarettes, okay? There is no just one more time of hurting a child. It's just got to come to an end. So let's keep being examples of emotional, psychological strength. Let's reverse the Zersetzung and say, yes, it is possible for people to take control of themselves and their behaviour and understand themselves enough to be their own best friend, not their worst enemy, to be positive, constructive people who understand and who can cope and do the right thing in times of adversity and times of stress and times of pain, and do the right thing for themselves and other people, okay? So we've all got to do that, okay? More from me later. Thanks very much. Sending best wishes to all.